And so after nursing her from the time I was 10 to 21, 23 actually, because my sister, much older sister, goes, oh, finally she decided to help me, but she didn't really help at all. She was supposed to be Mum's sole carer, but Mum ended up in my house more often than not. So I was 23, and basically a doctor said to me, you've got to get the hell away from your family. You can't continue to be an emotional carer to your mother, or you're going to have a nervous breakdown. And so I moved interstate. Not long after I was there, I was walking to work one morning, and on my way to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was living in Brisbane, beautiful, beautiful Brisbane. The sun's out and it's really bright at 6 a.m. in the morning in summer. Just got to point this out. So I also lived in the city. So I was walking the short distance to work, bright, bright sunny morning. I thought surely I'll be fine. In hindsight, 6 a.m. is probably a bit stupid to walk the streets, but anyway. I was walking to work and I spotted this creepy looking fella and my stomach sank. You just knew this isn't good. So I got my phone out, plugged my earphones into my phone, shoved my phone in my pocket and put my earphones in my ear, knowing that I didn't want to turn around and go back to my house because I didn't want him following me to where I lived. So I crossed my fingers and hoped I'd just get past him in time or get to work before he did or whatever. And if I didn't, I figured I had my earphones in my ear, I'd make a phone call. I figured if I was going to go down, I was going down with a fight. So this fella, he did proposition me. I told him to bugger off. And at that stage, he started to pull at me, pulling my arms behind my back, yanking on my bag, trying to grab both my arms, and it's really pulling at me. I've managed to get my umbrella, and I managed to jab him with my umbrella, and I jabbed him just at the same time as he's thrown his other arm around my neck to pull me into the bushes, because at the time the transit centre was being built, so there was this huge area there that was really just messy and you could hide anything there, and he started to drag me. But I've managed to poke him with my umbrella, and I don't even know what I did after that, but I got out enough. I made a phone call and I rang the duty phone at work because the Queensland police had absolute shit, and I knew the duty phone would have to get answered, and sure enough, Andrew, one of the guys at work, he answered it. And yeah, I just screamed into the phone what was going on when this fella realised what was happening, that I had called somebody and somebody was on their way. I screamed into the phone, I'm at the corner of David, Andrew. He took off, and he hid himself actually in the cop shop for a bit, and by the time I got to work and I got upstairs and I could see down to where he was hiding in the cop shop, I did ring the cops. They didn't want to know about it. They couldn't be fucked. Nothing happened to you? I said, well, it nearly did. And he goes, yeah, but nothing actually did. They didn't want to know about it. Now, I stayed at work. I was too frightened to go home. I just didn't want to walk the streets again on my own. So I stayed at work, did my job. That afternoon, dear friend of mine, Parry, he walked me home. And for the next year, this short little Indian fella, that's exactly what he did. He always took me home. He always walked me home. Never hit on me, never nothing like that. He was just a good citizen. He would walk me home and then walk 45 minutes in the other direction to his own house. He always made sure I was home and I was safe and sound. So he looked after me. He took care of me. He was the one who helped me through absolute hell and took me with doctor's appointments, because post-traumatic stress, I very quickly descended into PTSD. And let me tell you, it's evil. It'll fuck you up. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst nightmare. So he really stood by me. But also from that first night onwards, 2 gay boys at work. 2 gay boys that I was friends with, but, I was a Jehovah and they were gay, and I kept my distance because I'm not allowed to associate with homosexuals. Not that I had any problem with them. The whole idea that gays are somehow bad, that never sat well with me. You just don't ostracize yourself from society just so you can get a root. You just don't do it unless you actually feel that way. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's a naturally occurring You're born gay or you're born straight, period. But I was friends with them, I just didn't hang out with them. But that night, I rang my church elders, and they couldn't be fucked. They were busy, they had things to do, they'd get back to me later. And the boys turned up, and they just said, get your stuff together, we're taking you out. You're going to take you to a gay bar. And I said, absolutely not. And they said, you cannot stay here, you need to get back on the horse, you cannot lock yourself inside your own home, you need to get out of this house, and it will be good for you to be in a room full of men where you can feel safe. And they were right. And those boys took such good care of me for the following 4 months that I was an absolute mess. They held my hand when I had panic attack after panic attack, and I'm a severe asthmatic, so I had no idea what was going on. They literally, really, I don't have words for how wonderfully they took care of me, and they stood by me and they supported me. As for the Jehovah's Witness elders, I didn't hear from them for 3 months. I rang them on numerous occasions and said, I can't catch, because I lived in the city, I didn't have a car, no bloody point. I just caught public transport, and I rang them a few times and said, I can't make it to the nighttime meetings. I'm terrified. Can someone please pick me up? And I rang several of them and even left messages at the actual Kingdom Hall, and no one ever got back to me until finally a field service report was missing. Oh, sorry, Beck, we've been busy. We were on holidays. A lot of us were on holidays. And I said, but I know you got my messages. And they're like, oh, yes, so when we come back, we were just busy. We had work, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we're missing your field service report. And I'm thinking, you couldn't take 5 freaking minutes to just check that I was okay. So that was enough for me to just decide that I couldn't condone a church or an organisation that condoned pedophilia. And I walked away. And about a month later, I decided, I'm actually a very, very honest person. I will not live a lie. And that pisses people off sometimes because I don't act in a way that they think is courteous to them, but I will not be somebody other than who I am. And so I sat down and I wrote a letter, and I posted letters, and I emailed every Jehovah's Witness I'd ever known, whom I'd had access to email or letter writing, and I told them what had happened to me, and I told them why I no longer wanted to attend meetings. And all I copped was abuse. No one said, I'm sorry that happened to you. They all abused me. They all said how disgusted, disappointed, and traumatized they were. How could I be so mean? How could I be so cruel? And I lost count of the amount of times they told me I was making an excuse because if my relationship with Jehovah was strong enough, I would not allow anything to come between it. And then half a dozen of them accused me of just outright lying. Elders wouldn't do that. You're lying. They had known me for years. They knew I was a goody two-shoes Jovo. They knew I regular auxiliary pioneered, so that meant I did 70 to sometimes 90 hours a month of preaching every month for 6 years while I was nursing a chronically ill mother in a wheelchair. Feeding her, cooking her, wiping her bum, bathing her. And I'm trying to finish high school. But I still managed to do that. But no, I must be lying because it just wouldn't happen. It didn't matter that I should have already proven by my conduct that I was not that kind of person. As to my family, I didn't hear from them for 2 years. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, you're forbidden from speaking to family members who leave. So they do speak to me now, but I can tell you it's bloody toxic. My sister's just vicious and cruel, and the shit she makes up is unbelievable. Apparently I'm a bisexual nymphomaniac who posts my orgies on Facebook. She ain't on my Facebook, by the way. And my mum's lovely until the guilt trip gets too much of her, and then she takes it out on me. The guilt trip that she's not actually allowed to speak to me. And I will point out that the instant they see this online, I immediately become a certifiable apostate, and I will never hear from them again. That's it, black and white. Goodbye, sayonara. I cease to exist. So this organisation